Very sad news today. D'Angelo passed away. R&B singer D'Angelo has died at age 51. He is survived by the thousands of children who were probably conceived to his music. That is a lot of people. And that has nothing to do with what we're about to talk about. Thanks so much for connecting with us today. If you're tuning in on the radio, you already know who you are. It's KPRC 950. I'm Kenny Webster. If you are watching us live streaming on social media, I have a very special guest this afternoon. Now, this afternoon guests include Laura Loomer, one of the most controversial journalists in Texas. She's on the phone, but in studio right now, Rachel Hooper is here, Texas Republican Party attorney. Let me fix that microphone for you. Rachel, you don't normally do interviews, and I was an exception. What was so, is it my handsome physique? What was it that made you decide to do the show today?
You are such a wonderful treasure in our community, Kenny, and I was very moved by the fact that you helped the students at Stratford High School who simply wanted to start a Turning Point chapter. And your work with them and supporting them has just been phenomenal.
I feel like that is high praise from you. You're a respected member of society. I am a right-wing morning radio shock jock, and sometimes I'm very grateful for that. I am humbled by what you've just said, so thank you so much. Rachel, for those that don't know who you are, you're an attorney, you were a prosecutor. Your story, a lot of people just associate you with the Texas Republican Party, but you go way back prosecuting criminals, right?
Well, I'm a native Houstonian. I'm a fifth-generation Texan. I was a prosecutor in Harris County for 12 years, where I handled everything from Class C misdemeanor to capital murder. And after my time at the DA's office, I went into private practice in big law. And Matt Rinaldi brought me in to the Republican Party of Texas to serve as the general counsel, and I do so today.
I like Matt a lot. I endorsed Matt, and some people, I think Matt did a great job as the head of the chairman of the Texas Republican Party. Now Abraham George is in charge. Do you have a good relationship with him?
I have a wonderful relationship with Abraham George and Matt Rinaldi. Some say that Matt Rinaldi made being conservative cool.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think he did. Who, if you had to pick, who do you think would win in an arm wrestling match, Matt or Abraham? Go ahead.
Arm wrestling.
Yeah, thumb war.
Wow. I don't know. Matt is a big hockey guy.
You don't have to answer the silly questions, just so you know, Rachel. You could just laugh at me and say, come on, give me real questions. I want to talk to you about what's going on right now in Texas, because this is a big deal. But before we get to any of this, can I tell the Texas, the steakhouse story real quick?
Sure.
Is that it? Okay. I'm hanging out 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. How long ago was it? It was a while ago. And there's in front of a steakhouse in this neighborhood. I'm out on the patio. I've had a few drinks. I'm with some friends. A gang fight breaks out in the parking lot between some black teenagers and some Hispanic teenagers. This is a nice part of town. And the cops come, the staff all run out. Normally you don't see things like this in uptown Houston. You shouldn't, at least. That's why people come to nice neighborhoods. As soon as the dust settles and they take the kids away, they're teenagers, I assume, or very young in their early 20s, all of a sudden, District Attorney Kim Ogg, former DA Kim Ogg, walks up. Members of the Republican Party, local prosecutors all walk into the banquet hall of the steakhouse, like moments after the gang fight gets settled. And then you and your husband, Don Hooper, walk up. And at the time I was thinking, man, if that had all gone slightly worse, nobody would believe that I was just sitting on the patio of this steakhouse when a gang fight broke out and then Kim Ogg showed up with her friends. But that's exactly what happened.
Wow. We did not see the gang fight, although I would not be surprised. Houston, Texas has become a very dangerous place, and we need a permanent U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Texas. Right now, we have an interim U.S. attorney. We need a permanent U.S. attorney, and I sure do hope it's Kim Ogg.
Most people don't know what you just said. I think that's really important information. The media doesn't pick up on stories like that. That's not a salacious, nefarious that's not a punchy headline, so that just doesn't get any attention. But you cover crime. You investigate crime. And this is your life. Do you think it's getting better or worse right now in Southeast Texas?
In some ways, things are better. HPD Chief Noe Diaz is tremendous and wonderful and making wonderful strides. I'm very thankful to the mayor for supporting the police and supporting fire. But we have a Soros DA in Harris County. And what does that mean for you? It means that this district attorney's office rejects charges that are very important. And things like burglary of a motor vehicle that some may discount. Those crimes must be prosecuted, must be investigated, must be prosecuted. And we need a stopgap for when we have a Soros DA, and that is the federal prosecutor.
The former district attorney was Kim Ogg, and the Houston Chronicle years ago reported this was a woman funded by George Soros money. A lot of people thought that she was going to be that kind of district attorney, kind of like John Whitmire. She was not that. Kind of like our mayor becoming, our mayor was a lifelong Democrat, took over the city, became the most conservative mayor we've had in years here in Houston. When Kim Ogg first took her job, some people were surprised to find out she was a lot more conservative than we expected. Were you surprised?
I was not surprised because I have known Kim Ogg for many years. I knew her when I started as an intern at the DA's office, and I knew her to be a fair and honest person. At that time, when Kim Ogg was elected district attorney, there was conversation about what should be prosecuted. And in particular, there was a group that filed a civil lawsuit in federal court about misdemeanor bail reform.
Right.
It's called the O'Donnell case.
I remember it, yeah.
And what happened ultimately is Rodney Ellis, a Democrat, a radical Democrat.
Commissioner's Court.
Commissioner of Precinct 1.
Right.
He pushed something called the O'Donnell Consent Decree. And that takes bail decisions out of elected judges' hands and automatically releases people who are accused of misdemeanors. So for the most part, if someone is arrested in our county for a misdemeanor, even assault family member, they are released without even seeing a judge in a lot of circumstances. And so recently, our Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has fought back on that, and that is something Kim Ogg fought back on. This automatic release of individuals without even a judge's review of the matter.
Here in Harris County, we have a rhino problem. A lot of people don't like Dan Crenshaw. In the greater, across the Texas, a lot of people don't like John Cornyn. Some people feel this way about Abbott. And they pointed out part of the reason why we get liberal Republicans in high-ranking positions like the House speakership, the Texas House, is because of our open primaries. For a long time, we've been trying to close the primaries in the state. I just interviewed Laura Loomer from Florida, and she talks about how they were able to get such conservative candidates in her state. It's because the primaries are closed. In states like Illinois, blue states, they don't have open primaries. In places where the Democrats, not every state obviously, but in a lot of states where the Democrats have overwhelming, unmitigated, unchallenged power, they have closed primaries. Why isn't that good enough for Texas?
So this is a fight that I have been fighting for the last few years. When Matt Rinaldi was in the Texas legislature, he filed a bill to close the primary. And interesting enough, one of the co-authors on that bill was a representative named Matt Shaheen, who is currently a representative, and he is now opposed to closed primaries.
What changed?
Yeah. You would have to ask him.
Sure.
But he is part of a group that has a false narrative about closed primaries. So what is a closed primary? A closed primary means that someone who is registered as a Republican is eligible to vote in our primary elections. And we love and support all of the new Trump voters. That is wonderful, and we want them to vote for our nominees.
Obviously.
But we want Republicans picking our nominees. Some people may remember Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley in 2024, she stayed in the race for president in the primary until she got to states that had open primaries because she was openly advocating for Democrats to vote for her.
Sure.
We don't want Democrats picking our nominees. We don't want somebody like this woman, and I really don't even want to say her name, but this woman who was literally trying to undermine kids trying to start a Turning Point USA chapter in high school. We don't want someone like that
Spring
voting.
Branch, right.
Exactly. We don't want somebody like that picking our Republican nominees.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, and I can't even believe this is controversial. I've had a handful of people reach out to me privately. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus. I won't say who they are, Bill King, but the point is they wanted to discuss this private with me about why they think the primary should remain open. By the way, I like Bill King. I don't have a problem with him. For those who don't know who that is, he's was a former Houston mayoral candidate. He's not the only one, but I've had a handful of people reach out to me and say they want to talk privately with me about why we need to keep the primaries open. And none of them, it's like, if it's so obvious we need to do it, why does it require secret meetings?
Well, that's interesting because are any of them Republicans who are worried about it?
I mean,
Because
they're Republicans, like
Bill King started a third party.
Sam Party, right?
So that I don't consider that I don't want to pick who's in his party and who his nominees are.
Well, it's a book club, Rachel. It doesn't
Sure.
really matter who's in his party, right?
Sure. But this is,
They're going to have a bake sale on Sunday. I'm sure it's going to be very exciting.
let me tell you something that happened in the 87th legislature that was really instructive. So a lot of people, most people have no idea who I am. They may not even know what the Republican Party of Texas is or does. But the Republican Party of Texas has a chair and a vice chair. They're elected at our state conventions that happen every 2 years.
Sure.
We also have a man and woman from each of the 31 Senate districts, and they compose what's called the State Republican Executive Committee. These are volunteers, every one of them. The vice chair, the chair, and all of these members are volunteers. And these people in the 87th legislature, on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, the legislature changed a bill to try to make these grassroots volunteers elected on the primary ballot.
And it was claimed, if I'm not mistaken, so you're talking about the meeting last Saturday night, obviously.
No, I am talking about something that happened 2 legislative sessions ago.
Oh,
And so what I'm talking about is people in the legislature working to undermine grassroots activists and volunteers.
wow.
And this kind of started the alarm bell for a lot of people. Like, we need to take action here. And so what I did is in our next state convention, I removed and stripped all references to the Texas election code from our rules, our
Yeah.
party rules, because I wanted to send the message that we control our party, not the legislature.
Is there anybody in the political party over the last several years since you took this job when Matt Rinaldi took over who got in your way from trying to do what was obviously the objective of the party? Were there people in the party that were an obstacle for you?
Most people.
Most people.
Most people, because for whatever reason, they were working to undermine some of these efforts. Now, I will say, Abraham George immediately started working and reaching out to elected Republicans, and we do enjoy a good relationship with the governor and the lieutenant governor and the speaker, and are very happy to see them work with us.
Don't you wish he was from Houston, though? Wouldn't that make you like him more?
He, the speaker?
Isn't he from DFW? I was talking about Abraham, but
Oh, Abraham. He spends a lot of time here. He came to the TPUSA
he was
event.
there. I know. I'm just joking around. Rachel, you are very diplomatic. I appreciate that. I have tried a couple times to get you to badmouth Abraham George, for being a Dallas Cowboys fan. You wouldn't do it. I appreciate that. Rachel Hooper is in studio right now. We've been talking about the open primaries. If you're just turning on your radio and you're wondering who this is, you should know who this is. She is the official attorney for the Texas State Republican Party. Quick break. More with Rachel Hooper right after this.
The only thing that hurts more than paying taxes? Not paying taxes. Kenny Webster's Pursuit of Happiness.
Hey, we are in between segments right now. If you're just joining us on this live stream, check out our website, ilovewj.com. We have awesome merch for sale right now. Getting ready for the holidays makes great stocking stuffers. Stand by. We're going live in 1 second. This is a surprise. Workplaces are increasingly allowing employees to go shoeless at work. Now, in case you work at Walmart, I think it's just so that workers can blend in with the customers. That would be my guess. Do people, Rachel Hooper's here. She's the attorney for the Texas Republican Party. Do you wear shoes at your office?
I always wear shoes.
That's not a shoeless environment, no?
Well, I will say this. At home, we do not allow shoes to be worn in our home because of germs. But I do wear slippers that never leave the house. At the office, I cannot imagine not wearing shoes.
I have a friend who works as prosecuting stalkers and child predators and people like that. And she tells me one of the obstacles they have sometimes is witnesses will come in to testify in a case and they're not dressed appropriately for court. So they have a closet in the back room that's filled with like a sweater, a dress, shoes. Because weirdly, some people that are sometimes very important parts of an effort to put a terrible person in prison don't know what is expected in this environment. As a lawyer who's dressed very conservatively, obviously better dressed than most people at this radio station, because you're wearing you're dressed nice, like for church. No one around here is. Have you had to deal with that in your history as an attorney?
I have had and do deal with that. That is a whole CLE for lawyers.
What does that mean, CLE?
So CLE is continuing learning education for lawyers. It's important what a witness looks like. When I first started as a lawyer in court, juries, they dressed up.
Right.
And so over the last 20 years, I've noticed jurors are dressed very casually, but their expectations of what a witness should look like have not changed. They expect witnesses to come in and look their Sunday best.
Yeah.
But if you're telling a witness, dress like you do on Sunday, that's not enough anymore.
No. What changed exactly? Why do you think it is that has the world become more casual? Why is it so different now? I don't remember the 90s being vastly more conservative than what it is now, but as you just pointed out, there is a difference.
Certainly COVID has changed. But even before then, I've had witnesses over the years who simply didn't know what was appropriate to wear. And I have learned my lesson in my expectations of what they would think is appropriate. I have actually had witnesses show up to the courthouse without shoes on.
Wow. And then what did you do? Why didn't they have shoes?
They didn't have shoes because they didn't know that wearing shoes would be expected of them at the courthouse.
But wouldn't you just think their feet would be uncomfortable? I couldn't imagine going anywhere without shoes or at least flip-flops or something.
I can't imagine.
Wow.
But that was the situation, and we found clothes for them.
That's what you had to do, and that for people that work as defense or as prosecutors in a criminal court. This sort of thing is pretty common. I did not know that. All right, I want to talk about what happened last Saturday night in the state of Texas. We were just talking about Abraham George, the chairman of the Texas Republican Party. I just followed it on social media. Me and my buddies were out in Waco doing a comedy show at the fantastic Waco Hippodrome Theater. But while I was backstage in the green room, I was following along on social media. with the censuring of certain lawmakers, and I will tell you, my friends are real mixed on this one. Some of them thought this was a necessary thing. Some of them felt like it was a waste of time and effort. Can you explain what happened Saturday night and is it true that someone from Trump's office called in the middle of this? Is that true?
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier about the Republican Party of Texas rules, we are a party that believes in the rule of law.
Yeah.
And so our rules, it's called Rule 44, has a process and procedure for censure. The censures at all times originate with the county parties. So these are very grassroots type efforts. And we had 10 counties censure 10 elected officials, and they're all state representatives.
Is that unusual for like a state party to do that? Does that happen a lot?
Well, in response to the impeachment of Ken Paxton, we had 3 censures
Okay.
last term. And so I think that the reason why we had so many this time is that there was a lot of animosity at the beginning of session. And there was a speaker fight, and some people were very upset that one side seemed to discard the rules in order to get elected. If you'll remember, there was one representative who was up for censure. He actually filed a criminal complaint on Abraham George with the Texas Ethics Commission.
And did that make any sense to you?
It did not. Good job, Texas Ethics Commission. They quickly dismissed it. They did not want to be used or misused as a political tool. But there was a lot of controversy and a lot of definitely not unity at the beginning of the session, and actually for a few months. And what changed that is the Democrats leaving. The Democrats leaving really did unify, for the most part, the Republican Party in Texas. So on Saturday at the Texas Capitol, the State Republican Executive Committee met to consider whether they would decide to concur with these 10 censures or not. And so over the day, all 10 were taken up. And there were votes, there were motions made, but ultimately there were votes on whether to concur or not. The State Republican Executive Committee voted to concur in 5 of the 10. And then there is something called penalty 3. So there's penalties assessed.
Sure.
I broke it down that there's 2 phases. So there's the question of, do you concur with the censure? And then the second question is, should there be a punishment? And if so, what is it? There are 3 penalties under Rule 44. One is allowing the party to campaign in a primary against this person. The second is to discourage this person from running for re-election. And the third is a brand new penalty from the 2024 state convention. And that penalty is to deny ballot access. So to say to this person, you cannot run in our Republican primary.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a brand new thing. And it passed overwhelmingly at convention. But right now, the Republican Party of Texas, all of the legal efforts are related to the closed primary fight. And so to open up a 2-front war would be very costly. And by the way, in a lot of people's minds, unnecessary. Because
Sure.
right now we're pretty unified in doing the right thing.
I get that. Right. I will tell you, I didn't care for Dustin Burrows when he first got elected. I didn't like that all these Democrats voted for him. I will say, I don't feel like this was the worst session. I feel like they got some great stuff done. Property tax relief would have been nice, but I digress. It is now primary season. We're in it. The biggest Senate race in America is a Republican primary, in my opinion, right now. Wesley Hunt, Ken Paxton, John Cornyn. Laura Loomer was just here. We were just talking about this a short time ago. What else are we going to see on that ballot? Prop amendments next year? I think there should be a prop amendment that makes it illegal to unicycle on Galveston's boardwalk with a small baby. I saw someone do this recently. It baffled me. I don't know why you're allowed to ride a unicycle on the boardwalk with a child. Is that on the ballot?
That particular measure is not on the ballot.
Yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
But so in the primary, the ballot propositions are decided by the state Republican Executive Committee.
Okay.
And so in 2024, one of those ballot proposition measures related to closing the primary. That passed by over 72%. So we as a party, we use these ballot propositions in our advocacy with the legislature. I can tell you we have 10 ballot propositions for the 2026 primary ballot. Number 1 relates to property taxes. So the measure will read, Texas property taxes should be assessed at the purchase price and phased out entirely over the next 6 years through spending reductions.
If my house was worth as much as the county says it's worth, I would have sold it yesterday. It's not. I know I'm not the only one. Even if you challenge this, you never get what it's worth. I don't know how to convince them. I have no idea. They say there's Ownwell or these different companies. And anyway, I don't want to get off topic, but I feel like having that on the ballots, it sounds like it's helpful. What do you think?
I think it's helpful. And I think what is really helpful is to have this ballot proposition on the ballot and then to understand what Texas Republicans say on these issues. And then for us to use that as a party in advocating with the legislature on legislation and changes.
Okay, very cool. What else is on the ballot? Do we know?
So, spending caps about local government, vaccination status.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Paxton's involved in a lawsuit with that, right? With Methodist, the hospital. About time.
Not a lawsuit yet. I think right now it's just a stern warning.
It's moving forward, you think? It seems like a no-brainer that your vaccine status shouldn't prevent you from getting an organ transplant. I mean, frankly, that goes from just being unethical to kind of evil, in my opinion. So thank God Ken Paxton's doing something.
Or denying health care at all.
Right. This is America. I know it's very Soviet-esque to me to deny somebody health care because of their personal decisions. But
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy. What else is on there?
Education on life. So we are a pro-life party. And so education on life beginning at fertilization will be on the primary ballot.
So basic science?
Basic science.
Wait a second. You mean not just a clump of cells, but actually acknowledging that an unborn child is a life? Yeah.
And to teach it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with that. Well, it's true. If somebody had a plant growing in a pot of dirt, you wouldn't deny that the plant was existing just because it hadn't sprouted up from the earth yet.
Right.
Yeah, that's not controversial to me.
So also what is very coming up now a lot in Texas is this Texas should prohibit Sharia law.
Okay, so you're talking about Epic City.
That has really gained a lot of attention, and so that's why that's going to be one of the ballot propositions.
So what would that imply exactly? Because to me, Sharia law is like requiring women to wear towels on their heads, and then food, weird rules about food, what you can and can't serve. But does that extend to an HOA or a private community like what Epic City would have essentially been?
So I think some people would argue that Texas already banned Sharia law and this is not a necessary ballot proposition. But what this response will do to this ballot proposition is to let the government know what Texas Republicans think about Sharia law having anything to do with Texas law.
Yeah.
So making sure, I anticipate that the response will be overwhelming on this ballot proposition. And I think that will help in advocacy and help in the 90th legislature.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else on there you think is worth highlighting?
How about term limits?
Okay, for who?
Term limits on all elected officials.
All of them.
All of them.
State lawmakers. Who doesn't have term limits right now? The governor can keep running. Who has a term limit?
Well, the governor does not. The lieutenant governor does not. And both of them are I don't mean to speak ill of either of them.
You don't think Dan Patrick getting mad about CBD shops and strip malls is a waste of time? Or
I think that we are so fortunate to have someone who really does care about what the grassroots thinks on issues.
I can appreciate that.
He has both Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Patrick and Speaker Burrows have spent time with the party and the state Republican Executive Committee, and we're real thankful for that.
Yeah.
But I think this is just an interesting issue about term limits.
I love term limits.
It's,
I mean, that's
interesting.
It's beautiful to me. That is very cool. Okay, very exciting. And then before, we're running out of time here. Why don't you just walk us through the rest of the list?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the rest of the list relates to water sale. So that's a real hot issue in Central Texas, the sale and export of water.
Yeah, and apparently in Loving County too, I'm told. But
Exactly.
it's a different topic altogether, Dr. Malcolm Tanner.
And illegal immigration, and the burden and who should bear that burden.
Oh, like because we had to pay our own money to secure the border when the Democrats are in charge.
Right.
Yeah.
And banning Democrat chairs in our legislature.
Wow. Rachel, you are, that is, to me, that's a big one. That one at the end that you just threw in there. If you had to guess, if we're on polymarket.com, do you think any of these don't pass? I mean, I guess it's impossible to say without polling data, but.
I think they will pass because they come from, we listen to what our local grassroots activists are seeing and doing and what's interesting to them. And so I do think these will pass, just like anything, just like the constitutional amendments that are on the ballot starting next week. There's something for voters in Texas to pay attention to.
Rachel, when you were on this show, did you think you would get a big response from people?
No.
Well, you did. I have my knucklehead journalist and comedian friends come in here all the time. We'll have several hundred people watching our live stream. This has thousands of views right now. Like, this has been shared dozens of times across multiple platforms. People were you don't do a lot of interviews. People were very curious to hear what you were going to say today.
It's because of you.
Is it? Yeah. Let's get down to one last really important question here. How did you meet Don Hooper and what is he like in private?
Don Hooper is a wonderful man, and I'm so fortunate to have him in my corner. Last Saturday at the meeting, we stream our meetings and they're on YouTube. And after the meeting, I talked to my parents after I watched the Longhorns beat the Sooners. And my parents said, well, your husband was commenting on YouTube and sticking up for you. And I'm so thankful to have fighters like my parents and my husband in my corner. And it helps me to do the best job I can do.
He is Don's a good guy. I like Don.
He's a great
But
guy.
seriously, though, what does he do that you don't like? Chews with his mouth open, or what does he do exactly?
He doesn't do anything. that I
Nothing?
don't
Does he
like.
have some old socks you don't like that you'd like to throw out? That is admirable. Wow. I don't think there's any spouse in America that wouldn't have had a thing. I love that. Rachel, I'm a big fan of you. You know, there's a lot of lawyers in Texas, and one thing you never hear people say is we need more lawyers, but you are a very good one. There are a lot of people out there that are big fans of you, and a very rare opportunity to get you in here to do an interview, so I'm very grateful for your time. God bless you, and God bless Texas. Any closing thoughts?
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here. Please go to Texas GOP and find out what we're doing at the Republican Party of Texas. It's such an honor to work with these volunteer grassroots activists, and I love talking about their work.
I love it. All right, Rachel Hooper, you can't follow her on social media, can you? Are you on social media?
Maybe.
No, normally people have a book to sell or something, but you don't. You just came in to give us news today. Well, I'm Kenny Webster. Thank you so much to everybody that watched this live stream. Share it for us. Do us a solid. Hit the share or the retweet or the like or give me a follow or whatever it may be. I'm Kenny Webster. I love you all. We'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning for more of What You Bought a Radio For. Have a great day.
You are listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to this show.